you. Kenya, do you have another question?
Yes. I was just wondering if out of the entire score, you had anything you would say you feel the most personally connected to?
I think the Obliviate cue. I call it the Obliviate cue because that's the name of it on the soundtrack of Part 1. I like it. I think it's one of the things that I'd be able to listen to again. While usually I don't listen at all to my music. I can't stand it. I think it sucks. So I think the Obliviate cue is a cue that we'll be happy to hear again. And as I said before, the Lily theme in its opening title form will be, I think, okay for me to hear again. The rest, I'm always very cautious, and I try to be very distant from my work and put it in, I keep it in a computer or an iPod, but I don't listen to it for many months or years because I'm very frustrated. I feel that everything is wrong, so I'd rather not listen to it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Lena, do you have another question?
Yeah, I have another question. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your relationship with David Yates throughout the entire process, both like before you actually composed the score, what he asked you to do in the first place, and then how much time, and after you write the score, and how much time it takes for you to actually sit down with him and get a finished product.
I'm not sure I understand exactly what you mean.
Well,
I think Lena's asking about working with David Yates and how he was involved with the process. And yeah.
Okay, I see. Well, David is very involved. I would see him almost every day in my studio in London, and I would play him my themes or my demos. I write demos, electronic demos, which are very, very precise. They really sound like the final product, except that they're just electronic, and they need to have an orchestra to sound really good. But you can really tell to the picture which part goes where, and the director can really react to it. So we spend a lot of time tweaking things at the studio. Then we spend a lot of time when we record with the orchestra, tweaking again, trying to focus to the most efficient, to focus. That's the best way to put it. To focus like you focus with a camera, to make it even more accurate. And so yes, David is very involved. He's very involved in every aspect of his film. Could it be the visual effects, the sound, or the music?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next, Andy, would you like to ask another question?
Yes. Were you a fan of the series before you asked to score the films?
Yes, of course. One of my daughter was a big fan since she was a kid, and I followed up with all the films and read the books because I had to be able to have a connection with her passion for Harry Potter. If I would not have read the books, I would have been a bad dad. So I had to go through that, and it was a pleasure because these books are very smartly and very greatly written. I think J.K. Rowling is a genius writer, and of course I saw all the films, and maybe above everything, since I was a John Williams fan for many years, I would always buy the scores at the beginning when they would come out. I would jump on it to listen to his work, and so I've always been a Harry Potter fan.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Terrence, do you have another question?
Yes. You had touched on the use of Hedwig's theme earlier. Now, coming into both Part 1 and 2 as a whole, how hard was it coming into this project that was essentially handed down from composers such as Williams and Doyle?
Well, when you come after such a genius composer as John Williams, when you have to do these themes, you you have to be respectful and challenge yourself and try to find good ideas. It's just a matter of work and inspiration. When the theme is good, it's easy. If Hedwig's theme was a bad theme, it would have been painful. But it's such a genius film, a genius theme, that it was just a matter of time and inspiration. It was really fabulous to be able to work around his theme.
Perfect.
Okay, Edward?
Yes, hi. You talked a bit about working with David Yates, and I was just curious, when you're first seeing the film and sort of figuring out what to compose, do you base that on the substance of the scene, or how the entire scene is shot and looks on the screen?
Writing music for a film is a global experience. You have to feel the overall flow of the film, the overall emotions of the films, to be able to deliver something that is connected to every sequence. I like to write horizontally more than vertically, which means that I prefer thinking about the overall than just sequence per sequence. I think that when you work sequence by sequence, you lose the thread, you lose the continuity, and I always try to have a concept of what the score will be overall.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Andrew, do you have another question?
Yes. Conrad Pope, he said on his Facebook account a few weeks ago, he kind of was the first person to reveal when the score had been finished with you and the London Symphony Orchestra. And Conrad's had, been working on these for a very long time. So I was wondering, was it kind of an emotional moment in the studio when it was all said and done? Was there anything said, or what was it like when everybody finished?
Well, yes, Conrad is certainly, of all of us, the most involved of the music team. He's the one who was involved from the beginning. I was more relieved that it was the end of the job, because it was a very hard job, and I was happy to know that I would very soon be on holidays. But Conrad Pope is a genius he knows everything about music, everything that you can think of, he knows it, and he has worked with John Williams a lot. But he knows music from the past, contemporary music, he knows jazz, he knows everything, he knows it all. And working close to such a great musician was really, really fabulous for me, really, really beautiful, because I learned a lot every day working on the orchestrations with him, how to make to create sounds that belong only to the very score that we were doing. He's a fabulous musician, Conrad.
Wonderful, thank you. Becky, do you have another question?
Yes. My question is, did you find more inspiration from the original book or watching aspects of the film production?
Well, I chose to be a film composer. I like to watch this because because I'm inspired by the visual, and so I guess I could certainly write music from reading a book, but what turns me on, it's really the moving images.
Okay, wonderful. Aubrey, do you have another question?
Yes, thank you. Where did you begin in the score writing process when you first got the job on these films?
Pardon me, can you ask that again a bit slower?
Sure. Where did you begin in your score writing process when you first got the job on these films? Like, kind of where do you start?
On part one, you mean, or part two?
I think just when you found out you got the job, like,
yes.
What did you first do?
On part two.
Part two or part one, whichever.
But yeah, it's very different, you see, because on part one, it was such a huge task for me in front of me, because it was my first Harry Potter, and I was, I was a bit under a lot of pressure, trying to take over these many years of composers working on the series. And I didn't know David Yates, and it was one kind of a challenge. Now part 2, I knew the team, and the challenge came that it was now the final episode. So it were two different kind of very different heavyweight tasks to deal with. And so I guess on part 1 it was to find a tone that would still have an echo of the past scores, and especially the John Williams scores, who I think you understood I cherish, and still have my own voice. And on part 2, I guess it was to find this balance between emotion and epic drama that we needed to, and the action cues that we needed to build together through the film, and there again to keep keeping my integrity, my musical integrity. That that everybody hearing my music would say, "Oh yes, it's Desplat, it's not John Williams."
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Lori, do you have another question?
Yes, I do. What was the first piece of music you wrote for the film, and how did the rest follow from that?
I think the first piece I wrote was Lily's theme. That's the first piece I wrote on the piano, and I played it to the producers and to David, and I think they liked it very much. And then through the weeks of work, I tweaked it. I think I improved it, developed it, and we found this beautiful idea of having the voice as a thread, and that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing that started everything.
Will we hear any themes inspired by the work of Patrick Doyle or Nicholas Hooper?
I don't think you will hear a theme by Patrick Doyle. Nicholas Hooper, you might, but that's a surprise you will have when you see the film.